Hey, what's up, cats and kittens? And shout out to all my cerebral lights. It's me, the Cerebral Diva. And I'm going to give you guys a couple of seconds because I wanted to take a look at the picture that you see at the beginning of this video and just take it in and absorb it. Just really study this particular picture. And once you've studied it, then yeah, we'll talk. Now, I know you're probably looking at the picture like, what's the big deal? Who is this guy? And let me tell you who he is. This man is the face of the status quo. Okay? This man is a pastor, a preacher. He is a pillar of the community. And if you can't tell, yes, you're looking at a mugshot. Because also this man is a criminal. What kind of criminal, you might ask? A child molester. Now, if it weren't bad enough that he were a child molester, if it weren't bad enough that he were a pedophile, a serial pedophile, this man, Mr. Kenneth Atkins, is a pastor in Atlanta, Georgia. Okay? And he was arrested for child molestation. Now, if that weren't enough, for 8 counts of child molestation, if I'm not mistaken. But this pastor also relished in the massacre at the Pulse nightclub in Orlando that happened almost a year ago, I believe. The massacre that killed 49 people. 49 people. And injured 53. And that was the Pulse shooting in Orlando. And it makes me so angry that this man had the unmitigated gall to tweet that these people got what they deserved for simply being themselves. Just good people out having a good time, not hurting anyone, and were simply massacred for being themselves. And if it weren't enough that they were massacred senselessly, you have this idiot adding insult to injury, not just injury, but insult to death, because he disagreed with who they were as people. Now we find out that the same man who was tweeting that these people got what they deserved for being members of the LGBT community is a pedophile who slept not just with girls, but get this, with boys also. Yes, with boys, young men. But because he's a pastor and because he espouses the teaching of the Bible, people turn a blind eye. And this happens over and over and over and over. Meanwhile, our society is trying to prevent trans people from using the bathrooms because they're a threat. But you have people like this Kenneth Atkins who are allowed to roam freely through our society, hurting and harming our children ad nauseum. But because they do so under the guise of religion and under the guise of Christ, people don't scrutinize them. But those people out there simply living their lives in the open and being themselves and saying, look, this is me, this is who I am, I'm not hiding it, there are no secrets, I'm myself, I'm living my authentic truth. Those are the people that you want to go back into hiding. And see, people like Kenneth Atkins, they prey upon the fear and upon society's unwillingness to embrace people who are different. Because here he is, the biggest hypocrite. The biggest hypocrite. And I'm not drawing parallels between pedophilia and the LGBT community because those are two completely different things. You know, a pedophile can come in all shapes and forms. So when I'm talking about Kenneth Atkins and his behavior. Make no mistakes about it. I am in no way, shape, or form saying that his behavior is equal to that of being gay, because that's not the point that I'm making. The point that I'm making is that how dare you sit in judgment of people being themselves when the people that you're judging have every right to judge you 1,000 times more than you have the right to judge anyone. So it's just really sad that a person like this almost feels entitled to some degree to spew hate and vitriol on people who aren't doing anything other than living life out loud. And that's what we need to learn as a society, that we need to give people the freedom to be themselves. When people have the freedom to be themselves, I feel like as a society, we're all safer, we're all better, because people don't feel compelled to hide. But at the same time, you have people like Kenneth Atkins, who is able to weave in and out of communities, touching your children. But because he's not gay, because he's not transgendered, because he's not lesbian, because he's not bisexual, you don't raise an eyebrow. You don't pay attention to the true predators, as opposed to fostering relationships with people of the LGBT variety who are just good people who happen to have a different lifestyle than that of your own. So I hope that, we've seen this happen with clergymen, we've seen this happen with scout leaders, we've seen this happen with Catholic preachers and just men of the cloth. We've seen this happen with Bishop Eddie Long. There's so many examples of people using God to prey upon people in our society, be it financially or sexually. We've seen it happen over and over and over and over again. But we don't see any examples of trans people grabbing little girls or little boys out of bathrooms. We don't see those stories. But because trans people are easy to make the boogeyman, people live in fear of the unknown, when trans people have been using the bathrooms all along. And people like Kenneth Atkins are the reasons why it's so important to not vilify people who are different and to scrutinize the people who are probably more like you, because those are the people who are probably more likely to offend. Those people who are different already know they're under a microscope, typically, and are probably more inclined to be even nicer just to compensate for their differences, because it's almost like they feel like they have to prove that they're good people so that they can be accepted. So anyhow, you guys, if you haven't read this story, I'm going to place a link in the description box so you can go and read for yourself. And this has got to change. People have got to learn to live and let live, and realize that, we all have the right to happiness. We all have the right to love. We all have the right to safety and to peace of mind. So anyhow, you guys, as always, in closing, remember to live better, love harder, and think smarter. It is me, the Cerebral Diva. Remember to follow me across all social media platforms. That means Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, Cerebral Diva on all of those platforms. If you can spell, you can find me. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will talk to you guys again soon. Take care.